And welcome to the Attitude Lounge, where we promote living a life well lived through the magic of doing what you love. And today with us, we have Shareen Silva, better known as Miss Persist on TikTok. Yes, sis, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for taking time out. I always thank people because time is valuable in life. Time is valuable, and I know that you live your life, or at least trying to live your best life on a daily basis. And so I always thank people because it's some people don't have the time, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
And they need to make time.
mhm.
But welcome to the show. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we're finally connecting. Um, I follow you on TikTok. I watch you. I be, saying yes, 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 giving you some love. And I was so thankful because, again, just like some of my other sorors that I've already chatted with that I've had on the show, you and I reconnected this summer,
Yes.
and and it was just amazing. And people need to know we've known each other for what, 35 years, something like that, right?
Yes, since 94.
Since 94. So there you go. Yes.
30, that
And
would be 36, wouldn't it?
yeah, and even though you and I, like, it's not like we keep in contact like that, we're not texting each other, we're not calling each other, but the moment you connect, you just connect, right?
Right. That's what real friends
So
are about.
yeah, yeah. So I know you're also, because I want to give you props, you're an educator.
I am.
Yes. And shout out to all the educators in this nation and all across the world. And thank you for what you do because we need educators. Even though I always say, as a former educator, well, I feel like I'm educating all the time, but as a former, employee or educator at the time, I'm retired now. I always say that, there's the kind of learning you do at home, then there's the kind of learning you do in a school environment.
Mhm.
And I know as a former educator, I used to tell people, have your kids for like 7 hours of their daily life,
Mhm.
and sometimes people don't, it's easy to dismiss because it's just an automatic thing, right? You're going to school, kids are going to school. But if you think about it, there are sometimes you're spending more time with people's kids than they are spending with them, with their own children. Not anything negative. It's just life, work, and everything that comes in between. So start sharing. Tell me. Um, I don't know if you want to share, if it's okay, like what grade you teach.
Sure, sure, sure. I teach 11th grade in a school in Queens. It's one of the largest schools in New York. We
Mm.
have nearly 5,000 students. It's like 4,700 students.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
It's,
that's double of like triple probably of any school over here.
yeah. And so it's majority Asian from different areas in Asia, mostly Chinese though. And then we have about 13% Latino. It may be higher now. I haven't looked at the recent
Right.
stats because we have a large immigrant population in our school.
Right. Right.
And about 9% or 6% Black. So
Okay.
that's basically our breakdown. A
Yeah. So
very
it's
high
diverse.
acuity school. Oh, it's very diverse, very
Yeah.
diverse, very diverse in many, many ways. Like I'll talk to my students sometimes and they'll be like, oh, I know people's economic status based on what way they go to school, what way they leave when they leave the school. Like, do they jump into their vehicles? Because some of my students have cars that are newer and much nicer than mine, like high-end vehicles. And then some of my students are on the bus going back to like Jamaica, Queens, or whatever. So the students are also quite aware of the differences, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do
So
you see a different dynamic in that, like among students?
no, not really, to be honest. Like, and even like my school has a large population of Muslim students and a very large population of Jewish students. And within the students themselves, you see none of that. You see no
Yeah.
conflict. They interact with one another. They spend time together. You don't see it. I can't say the same for the adults, but that's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's nice. I see when you post on your way to work early in the morning, you're giving your shout outs, you're telling people to take care of themselves. That's
Yes.
important.
Yes.
That's a lesson I learned, you know, later on in life. And I wish I wished somebody would have said, hey, you need to do this starting in your 30s, really. Not too long ago, I was at a doctor's visit and, the doctor said, well, no, your body starts changing, as a woman in your 30s, even like bone density, all of that. You have to be on top of it.
Yeah, I actually I tell some of my colleagues that watch my page and stuff, like some of those messages are also for me. Like they're reminders, and because I'm sharing them, I'm holding myself accountable to it too. But I share that with the students all the time. I really, really like one of the things that I really like to leave students with, is the power of presence. I had a student very upset about, boyfriend girlfriend stuff, and the boyfriend moved away, and all these like high school drama kind of things, and I'm like, but wait a minute, all that is gone. It's in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
There's no sense in holding it. And in the power of now, Eckhart Tolle says, if somebody puts a hot coal in your hand, what are you going to do? You're going to drop it. You're not going to hold it there. So why do we think we have to
True.
hold on to negative emotions?
Right? Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to let go, to say, you know what, this doesn't serve me, and just jump? Sometimes, like even me, like you brought up a good point that your messages are also to hold yourself accountable, and many of the things I talk about on these episodes, it's not like I'm pulling things out of a hat. It's because I've been through stuff,
Mhm.
whether it's trauma, whether it's the being sick so often, that keeps me from doing what I love. And I said, well, how can I share stories with people? How can they share stories with me? And in the same kind of circle, me share that story with everybody else.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I love that you do that. And I think, some of the what I post is also to remind myself, hey, you got to take care of yourself. Hey, what does taking care of yourself look like? Because that's another thing. Well, what do you mean? Yes, right. Getting like maybe a manicure for some people, that's the thing. For you, it could be, you know what? I'm getting, you know what? I'm feeling Puerto Rico this weekend. I'm out.
I know I love to travel. That really does. Ooh, feeds my soul. But what I want people to understand is that happiness and wholeness is not circumstantial. It's not based on me jumping on a plane and going to Puerto Rico or Thailand or wherever I go. It's based on what I feel inside. You know, it's because if your happiness and your self-care is circumstantial, then you have to be able to have time to get that manicure or go for that massage or take a day of rest. Like it has to be within.
The
And once
change has to come from you, and right, and it's not only it has to come from you. You have to be ready for it. Some people are not. But you have it, we in a way, I always used to tell my students, you have to be your own cheerleader. You can't expect somebody else to do it for you, because that would be a lot of weight for somebody else to try. You know what you like, you know what you don't like, or at least you'll learn.
And I think going back to what you said, like a lot of times, and this was a really big part of me, I was my trauma. My ego was centered on all the things that I had been through, all the losses I had experienced. And I really had to let that go because that's not who I am. Who I am is who I am at this moment. We have to just be. And we are so like, I talked to someone the other day and she's like, well, I'm the type of person that does this, this, and this. And we fall into that trap, And so then we're fixated on like, if someone talks to me like that, I have to react this way or whatever. You know what I mean? But when we realize that we just need to be in the moment, and the other philosophy that I follow strongly is the four agreements. So, be impeccable with your word. Don't talk about things you don't want to happen or talk about griefs and anxieties of the past. Don't worry about the future because that just causes anxiety, right? So just stay in your present and talk about what you want to be and not to
Yeah,
make assumptions, not to take things personally, and just try my best,
yeah,
And sometimes I need to remind myself because I'll start being impeccable with my word, worrying about this, that, or the other, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And I know that just means that I'm going to get more of the negative.
Hmm.
Where Adams,
Yeah,
whether it's ultimate faith or whether it's, believing in metaphysics, either way, What you think about, you bring about.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's often times I've even said, or I've even been on the phone with somebody and said, "Oh, I wish, I need for this to take place." And, some similar conversation like this will take place. And then I'm like, "Hey, I need to be intentional about this. I'm looking for this kind of result." And honestly, without thinking, like either hours later or, it's like everything falls in place. And I personally need to do more of that. I have not read the Four Agreements, but it is on my list. Yeah, yeah.
There's a good, I mean, if you want it like to get a quick brief and really understand it, he has Don Miguel Ruiz. He has a website where he like has videos that go over it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
actually did a lesson last year. I didn't do it this year. I may still do it, but I did in the beginning of the year when I'm doing like just like community building with the students. I did the four agreements for them. And
Yeah.
I printed out, I didn't, it's not part of the curriculum, so I didn't continue it. But what I did was I printed out a workbook and I gave it to them. And if they wanted to use it, great. And if they didn't, that's okay too.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, those things, I think sometimes, curriculums are great, but sometimes it's nice to be able to just, just get something else in there, with some just intentions, some good intentions. So I totally, yeah, I know that. So I think that's cool that you do that. I wish that more teachers had, a little bit more leadway with what they can do in their classrooms. I know when you get to a college level, that's a little bit different, right? But, I also get why these rules and regulations and, are in place. Uh, but one of the things, throughout the summer, I've been trying to schedule this, right? Remember, I'm back and forth. And I'm like, every single time that I would try to reach out for you, you're somewhere else. Oh, I just got back from here. Oh my God, no, I'm on my way to La Residencia de Bad Bunny, and I'm on my way to Puerto Rico. I'll call you, and I'm like, oh my God, and then I call you again, and I'm like, oh no, now I'm in Mexico. Oh, wait, and
You're lucky you caught me. In a few weeks, I'll be on a cruise to Belize, Honduras, and
well,
Mexico.
but I did just reach out to you. You were in Florida.
Yeah, I
So
was in
this is an example of you trying to live your best life. And yes, it has to come from within. But once it gets there, then you learn how to treat yourself. You learn your worth, right? You say, yes, I'm going here because I totally deserve it. And this is all intentional. This is part of my daily regime, what I remind myself, what I put out there in the world for others.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love the fact that, oops, you're dancing all the time, and even though I don't jump in and dance with you, it's because right now, for example, right now, I have my right, well, it's been actually since July, I've had my right foot, the tendons are like completely shot, like I'm in therapy, so that's the reason why I don't jump. Um,
Fair
but
dancing.
hey, I see you with other people, and just because I can't do it, I'm like, yep. I'm like, there's my soror. And by the way, yes, shout out to Chi Upsilon
Epsilon
Sigma.
Sigma, Kai-Hu.
So yeah, so I love the fact that you take out time to do what you love and what's going to serve you in that particular time. And I think that's so important. But I also know that there's people out there that are not doing this. They're living that rushed life. I live that. And honestly, lately with the holidays, I've been feeling that kind of like, I don't want to say anxiety, but overwhelmed of like, oh my God, it's, yesterday they celebrated, this holiday called Thanksgiving. And and I wished everybody a good dinner. So,
Yes, yes,
and I would wish everybody a good dinner every day.
yes.
But it's rushed, and now, and so many things are so commercialized too. You know what I mean?
Actually decided that I'm not doing Christmas. I'm not doing Christmas. It's all about commercialism. And I've seen in the past how, like, even family members of mine that couldn't afford to buy other people's gifts, their other children's gifts, they wouldn't show up at events because they knew we would be buying their children gifts and things like that. I'm like, It should be
That
about family. It should be about family getting together. And if you're not a Christian, like I don't follow religion.
yeah.
I believe in God. I'm spiritual, but I do not follow religion. And so I I I enjoy those moments that have been created where families can get together, like
Yes.
yesterday, you know. But um I don't think we necessarily need those moments, but I think we just kind of we just succumb to them, right? And then we still have like a good time with our family and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I just think all those things are so capitalistic, so commercialized that I'm
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
I do birthdays. I like to celebrate people's birthdays because I think everybody deserves to like feel special, and all that, and
Yeah.
treated by others. But yeah.
Yeah. So I do like, so I call myself a Christian, but I am not perfect, and I'm a sinner. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, yes, I curse. Should I? I mean, I don't know. Like, I also don't follow a religion, though. I just, I believe in God, and I pray. When times are rough, and I pray for others too. But in the spirituality, like, the good vibes, I feel like that's all interconnected. It's like we may call them different things, but it's about wishing people good vibes. It's about, you're right, being intention, just having good vibes around you, being surrounded by people who celebrate you, or who show love to you, versus what you had mentioned earlier about, the relationship with students, and how intentional, like, would you hold a piece of coal that's could burn your hand? No, you would drop it. It's true. So why do we have such a difficult time doing that with one another? And I think it's because of generational patterns too,
Well,
you know.
Eckhart Tolle says that we think that we don't have a choice. Like, well, this is happening to me, so I have to feel bad about it. No, you don't.
No,
That's a
you don't.
big contention with one of my family members is that, and I don't know, I have to work this out for myself too, because I don't want them to feel invalidated. But at the same time, if I'm being impeccable with my words and knowing that what I hear is also part of what's shaping my future, I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for me.
Right.
So what can we see? What possibilities can we see in this situation?
Right.
You know,
Correct. Right. It's like kind of like boundaries, right? Sometimes we should revisit them more often. We don't, but it's kind of like, once you know what they are, you pretty much stop people from crossing those boundaries, right? When you're not sure, I mean, it's happened to me, right? Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what my boundaries are, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to let nobody disrespect me. But then the moment somebody disrespect me, is that, but what does that mean to you, right? Like, what are you going to do when somebody disrespect? Know what your actions are going to be when somebody crosses that boundary. It's going to be like, okay, we're done.
And what they say in The Power of Now and Eckhart Tolle is that it's not about you. When someone behaves in a way that is negative towards you, it's about who they are and what they're going through for them. It has nothing to do with you. I mean, they give the example, if someone shoots you in the face, it's still, don't take it personal. It's still their issue. And if we can, and that's one that I'm working on, because I've known myself to be very feisty, very, like, I'm not gonna take crap from nobody. But I have even been smiling and wishing people well that in the past have not wanted well for me.
Same,
And
same.
because that's who I am, and I'm not going to let someone's behavior dictate who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard.
And
It's
it's a
hard.
reminder too, like, you need to continue to do this, so that they, because it's kind of like, where you've heard, like, it's almost like, it's not like a win or lose, but it's like, you're not going to empower them to rain on your sunshine. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and these are things we need to look at daily, sometimes, depending on the time of the day too, depending what other things are going on in our lives.
Yep. Yeah. And
So when
sometimes
did you decide this? When did you say, like, you know what, it's time to heal? it's time to heal, and I deserve it. And I don't know what this is going to look like, but let me go at it. Because I know a couple of years ago, um, a bunch of us, right, went to that. We celebrated our anniversary, yeah, for the sorority. And I just remember talking to you too back then about like healing. And it's like, we need to start doing this.
So my sister died, I think that year. I think it was that year that we met up, or the year after. And so I mean, taking it back, in 2004, my mother passed away, right? My sisters were 6 and 9. My sisters were six, I'm sorry, 9 and 17, and my little brother was 6. And I had my 2-year-old son. So I became mom to all of them. And really, that was my ego, right? Like, I am their mom now. I was their caretaker, but I was still their sister. And I wanted that role of mother, and I wanted that respect of mother. And, I made sure that I took care of all the things that I could take care of for them because they didn't have my mom. And I carried that with me all through those years. My mother died in 2004. So it's been 21 years.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot.
yeah, it is. And it I just carried that, like, and before that, my mother was in recovery right before she died for 7 years. She had been using heroin for all my life, pretty much. My mother was a functional heroin addict. She made sure we were in school. She wasn't until the very end, like in the last couple of years of her addiction, that's when she got bad. But she turned it around. She graduated from Bloomsburg. She was my first recruit because I was working in the admissions office. She graduated in 3 years with
Wow.
honors. My professors told me that she was a better student than I was. Of course, I was coming out of high school. She knew life. Um, and so, but we continued to like co-parent together all through, even until she passed. And then I had to take on the role again. And I put so much weight on myself to try to be perfect in that role. And I was never perfect. I tried, but and putting all that pressure on myself. And then, like, after my sister passed away, I moved to Massachusetts for 5 months so that I could take care of her children who were already in placement. They had been living with their dad. But I felt like that was what I was going to do for her. And I had tried to get them when they were first removed, but because I lived in New York, they wouldn't give them to me right away. It's a big process. So I had to literally go to Massachusetts, get an apartment, live there for 5 months. But they gave them to me within 2 weeks. But because they had school, I had to wait. Left my husband here, went over there. I was grieving her loss because it was 2 weeks after she passed. I was up there by myself. There was so much, and I just kept letting that stuff build on me, build on me, build on me. That when I started to heal and I went back to work, 2 years later, I was in work. I went back to work that year at the end of the year for a month. And then I had the kids for a year and a half. And when I went back after finding this healing, which I found in the summer, and I'll get back to you on that, but people didn't even recognize me. They're like, wow, what did you do? Because I felt good for the first time. I wasn't walking around like there was a huge, heavy boulder on my back, I felt light. I was taking each moment for what it was. And it just so happened, I don't even know where I found the 4 agreements. I don't know how they fell on me, but they did.
Yeah.
I can't even recall where, what, how, but it must have been something I saw maybe online or something. I don't remember anybody telling me about them. So I started studying the 4 agreements, reading, rereading. And then the next thing I found was the power of now. And a really good friend of mine, a colleague, was going through a horrible, situation in her marriage, and she had gone away for a month to therapy. And when we came back, and she's like my person at work. And when she came back in, I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling so good. This is what I'm doing. She went to a really expensive like therapy place in Florida, and they were reading the same exact books.
Yeah.
And so the fact that she was like fresh studying it, I'm fresh studying it, we kept ourselves accountable for what we believed and how we wanted our lives to be. So if I was starting to be a little negative because something was going through, I'd be like, what? She'd be like, wait a minute, you're not being impeccable with your word, and vice versa. And we just helped each other get there. And now it's like, we were talking to another colleague on Friday who was very upset about certain things that are happening in their family or whatever. And we were both like so happy despite everything and sharing that with her.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's always good to have a person that you can bounce things off. I was watching a video the other day and I forget who it was that said it. Yeah, I can't remember, but here's what was said that as we get older, like we need like friends, we need girlfriends to be able to talk to be able to like do adulting in a different way, right? Because even if like you're married, even if you have children, right, they go away, they go to college, they have their own lives, they do their own thing, and it's almost a way of that part of that self-care, part of that, yeah, let me have someone, who you can bounce. Now I'm not saying, go and bounce everything, obviously it has to be that special person in your life, that you trust, that that can hold you accountable, and vice versa, so I know that that's made a big change in my life, in the way I do things, because sometimes I get called out and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you're right. I says, you're right, and sometimes, another thing that we do, that we pursue, is like that the pursuit of like just of perfection, and that doesn't exist.
Nope.
That doesn't exist. And even like when I do this podcast, I know people, these big names who have podcasts, and they do, they pay people to do all this editing. I do minimal. Like what I do is maybe like enhance the sound a little bit, but I try to do minimal. I don't try to cut off anything, because I feel like if we were having a conversation anywhere else, we're not going to cut it off. So we need to be as authentic as possible,
Mm-hmm.
you
I
know?
think TikTok actually, ironically, does that for a lot of people in my interactions with people. Like, I decided that I love talking politics and I'm a very political person, but I decided that my TikTok platform wasn't going to be that. And sometimes I question myself, like, should it be that? Because we need that. But I feel like what I'm doing helps people eventually then also deal with like the political climate, right? And so, but I have found so many women that, and a few men, but mostly women that, may live by themselves, or, are struggling with different issues. The people have poured their souls out to me on TikTok. And sometimes I'm a little like, make sure that what you're saying, you want the world to hear, because, it is being recorded and all that. They record everything. But it gives them an avenue to this hogarse, to like just let it all out and
Right,
have people support them, and even to give them some tools to
right,
use. So
right.
one live I had, my first live, where I called it the Healing Community. I have those on Mondays at 8:30. Um,
There you
so
go, guys. Mondays on TikTok, Miss Persist, 8:30
the
p.m., right?
PM Wednesdays at 8:30 we do a dance party. So movement, healing through movement.
Okay.
And then Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5:10, I do a workout at the gym. And to me, it's like an accountability workout. I haven't had a lot of people come in to be accountable to workout. I mostly have had men come watch, but whatever. Um, but they keep me company, and it's not them being sexual or anything. They're just chit-chatting with me.
Yeah,
So whatever. But it holds me accountable to get to the gym at 5:10, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I need that. Um,
Isn't it
but
hard? It's hard. Working out, stretching, getting your body, um, exercise is, you feel great after the fact, right? But it's hard when just getting there.
And that's why I do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Because like even today, I didn't go today. I forgot today was Friday with Thanksgiving and all that. So I woke up this morning and my alarm went off, and I'm like, I'm not going today. I'm gonna take a break. I'm okay with that. In the past, I wouldn't have been okay with that.
Mhm.
I would have felt like that pressure to be perfect, to be there Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:10. I was okay.
Yes.
I was okay with that. I've canceled a few times, and I'm okay with that because I've canceled when I've needed to. Um, but all that, I forgot where I was. What was the initial question? But
But see, no, that you do your lives, and you do like it, you're holding yourself accountable.
Yes.
for the, for the physicality of it, for working out, for making your body feel better. Because I remember early on you had talked like that you went to a doctor's visit and you're like, oh my God, like I gotta work out because, as we get older, right, we lose all this bone density, you get osteoporosis, you get, so many things. And some of these things also affect men. It's just that women, it affects women more.
Right, right. And I mean, the biggest thing for that, the biggest secret for everybody, keep your core strong. If you keep your core strong, you will feel less pain as you get older. And that's something that I didn't do. So
Yeah.
that's what prompted my workout. Like some people be like, "Oh, you look great." Like they think that me working out was a function of me losing weight. I still have trouble buying clothes because I don't really notice that part of it, but I do notice the part that I feel better. And working out. I remember when I was a school psychologist way back in the day, like parents that didn't want to, their kids were struggling with attention and all that, they didn't want to use medication. That's great. Make them work out in the morning because you're depressed. Work out in the morning because you set up those endorphins to be provided throughout the day. You're also burning calories throughout the day, so that is my biggest motivation is I don't want to feel pain. I've noticed that as I've gotten older, I feel a lot of pain and I don't want to feel pain.
I hear you, and I hear that from a lot of people, even younger than me. And I'm older than you, but even younger, I've heard like, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I have a lot of conditions, but I also have some of these conditions from as a child. And as you get older, well, it's not like they improve, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but uh, but yeah, like, even, like I because I've been affected by pain most of my life. I mask. I was wearing a mask. I would be miserable in pain, barely, able to sit properly or something like that. And yet people will see a smile on my face. Oh, Addie, but I didn't know. But oh, I see you smiling. I'm like, that doesn't mean that because people do that, You never know what some people are going through too, you know. And one of the things that I like that, and I always mention this questionnaire that I send out because it helps me to get to know who I'm connecting with a little bit better. Even though I know you, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're the same person when you were 19 that you are now. I hope
Mhm.
not. We
Mhm.
we need to grow. We grow. And so one of the things you talked about was, how important, it is to do you, and how you've used, I've watched you on TikTok from like 100 and something followers to like, what are you up to now? Like,
Almost 25. I'm like 59 away from 2,500.
yeah. So, like in a couple months, like not, like in a couple months, but then again, it's like this, right? You don't have those followers just by sitting at home. You're actually putting in the time and the work that it requires for you to do that. And same with our bodies. We need to put in the time and work, right?
Yeah. And one of the things that helps me with my pain is the fact that and again, Eckhart Tolle is like my Bible, the power of now, but he says like pain is physical, it's real, but suffering is mental. And so things like distracting yourself from your pain can help you feel better. It's not going to heal you, but it's going to make you feel
Correct.
better. Like there's this
Correct.
one activity that I read about, like if you're feeling pain, headache, whatever, you find a piece of paper and count all the words that have O's in them, like a hole in them. And as
Mhm.
you're doing that, you forget your pain.
Right. You shift. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's also same with like stretching routines, people doing yoga, I mean, like you said, right? There's certain times that it's not only pain, but you may be lacking mobility or something like that. But shifting it like this, and I was just on another episode saying that this is kind of like part of that happy place for me. Because this is the way I can connect. Because sometimes I don't connect with people. I'm not always out and about. And
Mhm.
so this is part of that, happy place. The part that's not so happy is the editing part, but connecting with people and being like, yes, I'm looking forward to this. As I'm here, I'm focusing on you and the message you want to send to people. But I'm also like, collaborating and saying, yeah, like I know what you're talking about. I've had to do that. I've had to, you know, separate and say, you know what, I have to say no to this. I have to say no to this, whether it's a person, whether it's an activity, just for my peace,
Hmm.
just for that healing process. And know that kind of like, how sometimes like one of the things I used to feel like is guilt. Oh, I'm saying no to that person. No, I have a right to say no.
100%.
I have a right to say no. Just like, oh, didn't you get the joke? I'm like, no, no, I didn't. We don't always have the same sense of humor,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
also some people said, like I was on a live the other day and they were talking about someone who was gay and they're like, oh, the fruity. And I'm like, no, that's offensive.
Right,
Oh, I'm only making a joke. I'm like, no, it's not a joke. It's not funny.
right, right. People could have trauma over that, over being called over, being like abused or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, because abuse comes in so many different ways, including verbal, you
I think
know,
it's more damaging than other forms of abuse because you keep that in your psyche.
and that negativity too. I stay away from people with like just little things, daily things, but it's like negative, or being around people that just tell you the same thing over, and it's not like a positive thing. I'm like, that could wear a toll on you or anybody.
And that's why
So
some family members are struggling with me now because I'm not, it's not that I don't want to, I want to support you, but I want to support you towards your growth, not to support you to where you're stuck at, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, stuck, yeah, yeah, I get it. So where are you off next? You mentioned you're about to go on a cruise, right?
I am. We're going on a cruise with my in-laws, my sister-in-law. We get along really great, and her husband, and we have the same anniversary, marriage anniversary. So we usually do things together around our anniversary, but this is not during that time. Our anniversary is
Okay.
in February. But she called us up. She said, "You guys want to go on a cruise?" And so we're going. It's going to be two of my sister-in-laws, my nephew, and my sister-in-law's in-law. They're going to go. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be Honduras, Belize, and Mexico.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm,
I don't really I don't really like cruises for the destination because it's so short-lived in each destination.
right,
But
right.
I feel like it's my appetizer and it lets me decide if I want to go back.
Yeah, yeah. I was on a cruise some years back, and I enjoyed it. It was and there was some of my chapter sisters went on,
Mhm.
just a couple of them, and but I enjoyed it, and but I had never wanted to go because of the same reason, right? Because if I want to go, well, I want to be like 5 days in Mexico, or I want to be 5 days in Belize, or but I went, and honestly, I enjoyed it. And the ship was so huge and had like
Like a
like just so many things. I mean, I actually lost weight walking on just on the ship, but it was nice that we at every destination we had something scheduled to do something.
town.
And I mean, we're talking about we would be up like 5 in the morning, let's shower, let's go to breakfast, and then we just enjoy every second of it. Of course, once you get back, you're like, I need another day to recoup.
But I think that's the beauty of cruises, is that everything is there. So once you get back on the boat, you can just relax.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about where you're gonna go eat, what you're gonna go eat. You know, the choices are right there.
Driving anywhere.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yes.
that I see the cruises as a more restful vacation than the ones I typically take because I love to explore. That's a joy of
Yeah.
mine. So I want to go. When we travel, we always stay. We've stayed in a resort once together, my husband and I, and once with my son. We spent one night at a resort in Punta Cana because we were visiting a friend in Santiago. But other than that, we find an Airbnb that is like in the community. We try to rent Airbnbs that are community owned. So it's not like some big real estate company that owns all these places. We try to do that, we're conscious of that. But then we stay within the community, and like when we went to Ghana, we stayed in a place called La Paz. No tourism. And we got to talk to people that are from there and interact and just have a real experience versus
Yeah.
one that often tourism companies create to be palatable for the travelers.
Right. Right. Yeah, I totally get it. I'm actually going to be going on a trip to Puerto Rico, and I'm leaving in a couple weeks, I think. Yeah, I know it's
You're
been
gonna
a
be for
while, so I'm excited to go home and just like check everything. And when I say home, just land on Puerto Rico. I'm not. It's going to be a short trip, so I'm going to go and I'm just going to do solo. I'm going with another soror, and yeah, our soror from Epsilon now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna go, and it's just gonna be like a short trip, but it's gonna be like, yes, we're just gonna like enjoy every second and just, and be back. But I thought it was important to rent from a local owned Airbnb versus staying at a hotel. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, so I totally agree. We need to support. I support local here all the time too. Like and just entrepreneurs and versus, yeah. I
Well, with
wish
this,
more people would do that.
so we have the boycott that's going on right now, right? And I was struggling because I'm gonna go visit my niece and nephew on Saturday. And so my husband and I talked about it. I was like, well, we just need to like look at the trip and track out like small businesses, Black owned, Latino owned, LGBTQ owned businesses, and that's who we'll support on our
Yeah.
trip. We're not going to go to any department stores, which I really don't go to anymore anyway, because they're all evil. Or I try to micro consume if I absolutely have to. I really do believe in the power of our dollar. So, I think so many of us just feel like if it's just me doing it, and it's never just you doing it, but if it's just me doing it, it's not going to make a difference, but it starts with the individual.
Right. Yes, yes, yes. Every
So,
little bit helps. Every
yeah.
little bit helps. So yeah. So um
Can I say
I
something
I
about
wanted
the
to
short trip? The
well,
short trip, don't ever underestimate the short trip.
yeah.
I have taken short trips and walked home on clouds.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm so looking forward. And honestly, I wish that I was closer to an airport where I can just hop on like in short weekends. Hey, this is a good weekend of travel. Let me just be out, even if it's for 2 days.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Agree.
Any time that you can treat yourself in a way that you feel you deserve, because that's, again, you have to like, you know, show love for yourself, and those are some of the ways you show love, right?
I also encourage the solo trip.
I haven't done that, and part of it is, but I see everybody doing it, and it's so empowering. But part of my is some of the mobility stuff that it sometimes, and so I haven't done that, but doesn't mean that it's in the horizon.
Let me give you an inspiration. I don't know. Do you remember Dr. Wright from Bloomsburg? He was the AC 101 EOP director.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
don't remember the name, but
he's much older now.
I'm familiar with Yak 101.
He literally has to walk with two canes, and
Oh,
homeboy
okay.
went to Turkey by himself. He said, once I get to the airport, I tell them I need a wheelchair, and there
That's
I
true.
go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually I was on a trip recently, and I got a wheelchair. There was a
Yeah,
point
why
I
not?
needed the wheelchair.
If you
Yeah.
need it, I'm thinking about it because I have some issues with my knees and stuff like that. I'm like, why?
Right. Why suffer if these things are available?
I think some of it is pride. Like, I don't want to be in a wheelchair getting pulled around, but you know what? That's ego.
Or this other part of it is like, oh, if I'm then I'm welcoming that. It's not that you're welcoming, you need it right now. That's it.
Yeah. If
But
you need
some
to
people
eat,
like,
you need to
yeah,
eat. If you need a mobility support, get the mobility support.
yeah, for real. So
So
anything do you have coming up besides your weekly dance? What do you do? Your on Fridays you do the
on
dance off.
Wednesdays,
Wednesdays.
I do pop-ups throughout the week because I try to do at least half an hour on TikTok every day to
Okay.
stay connected with my followers and stuff, and to find and meet and build my community, meet new followers. Um, but I just have those things right now, and those are my regulars. And um, I do some battles too. I don't know if you've ever seen the TikTok battles; they're fun.
I
But
have.
I think that, I am critically conscious of TikTok and the social experiment that it is, and how much data they're collecting from all of us. Like, I'm like, we just blew privacy out the window. Like, TikTok has probably seen every part of my house at this point. Maybe not the
I'm so
bathroom.
glad you brought that up because you're like in my head. I was about to say, hey, what about let's talk about TikTok and the changes and the chatter that's out there.
Yeah, it's well, the US just contracted a company for $25 million to do surveillance on social media.
Jeez.
So, like I said, I encourage people, like, what you're sharing, make sure you're sharing what you're
Right.
okay with other people knowing, because
Right.
everybody, whether they're there at that moment, there's recordings, people can, if they're on your live, they can select to post a highlight from the live. And that might have stuff that you don't really want heard.
Right. Right.
So you have to be very conscious of that. And it's easy to fall prey because you get so comfortable and you're just chit-chatting with people.
Right.
So I don't have anything. Well, actually, there is something that's in the making that my husband and I have been talking about, and we did it a little bit yesterday, is doing a couples TikTok. My relationship is amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Amazing. I never in my life thought I would be so happy with someone.
Yeah. Good for you. Because that's hard too. I think, the world out there again, we talked about having girlfriends, but to have a partner that you can rely on, that's going to uplift you versus the opposite.
Anytime I pursue something, he is my biggest cheerleader, my biggest support. And and he started doing some videos, and he is so natural at being funny, and he's also a perfectionist, where I'm not like you. Like, I'll post my video, I'll make a few slight changes, but I don't get stuck there. That's one of our struggles when we're making videos together, is he wants to redo them over and over again. I'm like, it's fine. But he's visual and I'm audio, so as long as I hear it okay, it's good. And he needs to
Yeah,
see, like,
yeah,
you didn't even look at the background, like what's in the background and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
But yesterday was a very natural conversation that we were having, and people were asking us questions, and I feel like what we have, if it could be bottled up and sold, people would be happy in relationships.
yeah,
And it's not that we haven't gone through our hard times and all that, but we've worked through it. And the biggest thing that we have is communication.
yeah. I think that's key with a lot of relationships, communication, but also respect for one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
important. Yeah,
And he takes care of me because, when I was in my days of, like, literally not worrying about what I was going to eat, because when I tell you, I was working 7 days a week when I was a teacher for, like, probably I've been teaching, I think, 13 or 14 years, probably the first 10 years I was working 7 days a week. And then I went down to working six. And now I really don't touch things on the weekends,
yeah.
because that's the only time we have
Right,
together. He
right,
works night
right.
shifts. We have contrasting shifts.
Yes. Yeah,
So
no, that's important to have time for certain things. And don't interrupt whatever time it is to have that. Like that, if you set that time apart for something, it's because it was important.
yes,
Because that's showing up for yourself.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that man is, I feel like, with I always say that with all the things that I went through in my life in the past, like, he's my gift from the universe.
Yeah.
You
Amen.
know, he's shown me love. I feel like sometimes, like, I can literally say that he's loved me more than my parents love me, like, because he has the capacity to do it at this point where they had other issues going on.
Right, right, right.
And he's shown my son what it means to be a good human and to treat your partner right and all that, you know. I love that. I love that. He
Yeah.
is definitely a model of how to be a good partner to someone.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
had to work on that
yeah.
because I was so caught up in, you know, every for some reason I didn't connect with the fact that he is my husband, he is my family. It was like this is my blood family, and so I have to take care of them. And he just went
Mm,
along, supporting me, supporting me, supporting me. And then one day it hit me, I'm like, what? Why has he taken backstage to everything else when he is my biggest supporter?
right.
And I've prioritized him since.
Yeah. 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 No, that's important to, and I think it's important both ways, right? It's important to know what place certain people hold in your life, but it's also important to, like, from the other end, it's important, for people to know your self-worth, and when something's not going, like maybe the way you wish, kind of, that's where the communication aspect comes in, right? That's where the respect. Hey, I respect you too much not to bring this up or not to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I have had situations where this is how that's how I communicate, that I'd rather, hey, Shareen, let's talk, like, because otherwise, maybe you did something that didn't sit well with me, but how are you going to know if I don't say, hey, Shareen, I just want you to know that that thing you said, like, that kind of like just threw me a little bit back because that was unexpected, whatever the case may be, right? I've approached people in that sense, and there's people that don't want to talk. Oh no, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Oh no, I'll talk. No, no, this is not like I'll talk to you. It's like I need to talk to you.
I have a person that I'm close to that we've fallen out, and that is exactly, well, two people really. That's exactly the issue. They don't want to approach a conversation. And it makes me sad, but I'm okay. I'm okay.
Right, right.
Have
There's
to
those
be.
kind of things when you're healing, right? Because we talk about back then, earlier, that you have to say no about certain activities, but sometimes you have to just say no about the whole relationship.
And you know what that takes? And that's another thing. My therapist, I'm a big reader, so my therapist knew that and assigned me Radical Acceptance,
Mm,
an amazing book. And they all align, all those books and the philosophies that I'm reading is they all align. Like sometimes you just have to accept things as they are. You can't change
right,
them. You
right.
accept them and you keep it moving.
Acceptance is huge. Yes.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And for me, it's really huge because I'm a fixer.
Mm-hmm.
The reason my name is Miss Persist is because I never, like, when we were going to the Beyonce concert, I missed my flight. I'm like, all right, well, we're driving down. It was in Georgia, Atlanta. We drove to Georgia. I got there, but that's always me. So
But
someone
that's
like,
great. That's great to have like that, because it's like it wasn't going to stop you.
right, but sometimes you need to learn that it's not for you. So
Hmm.
step
True.
away
True.
because I will persist through things I have in the past, persisted, pushed to get something that was never meant for me.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. No,
And
that's
we have
true.
to know to distinguish that, right? Like
Yes.
sometimes if there's too many, like I believe what's for you is not going to miss you.
Mm,
And
that's
so
powerful.
when I meet frustrations or disappointments, that's the message I tell myself. If it's for me, it's not going to miss me. So if I didn't get it right now, I'll get it later. And if I'm not supposed to get it, I'm not going to get it.
Hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through some stuff a few years ago, and those are some of the things that I had to figure out, like, to accept. And once you accept, it's easier. It's there. You're not going to change it. You got to work around it. But also, like, I I was very hurt because so many things were changing in my life. And it was so overwhelming because it was all happening at once. But then what I realized after the fact was, maybe that wasn't meant for me. maybe all this happened because I need to be here now in where I'm at right now. And I
Mhm.
wouldn't have gotten had this other like right thing happened.
And
Yeah.
I think some of that goes with ego too. Like that's a big thing that I've learned about. And I was a therapist, but I never looked at ego in the way that I look at it now. I used to look at ego as being braggadocious or whatever, but it's not. It's about having this idea that things are about you, right? That everything that happens is about you. It's about, oh, this is who I am. I've always been this way. No, no. The ego death is what I'm striving to, right? Um, I take every situation as it comes.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and be like, oh, well, this is the way I always do things and this is the way I'm going to do them now. That's how I was before. So I haven't actualized that completely yet. I'm a work in progress, and I say that often. And sometimes in the same breath that I'm telling you that I can accept things and that, sometimes I fall prey to my inner weakness and give in, but then I'm able to, because I've been like really focusing on this way of living and thinking, I'm able to come back. And I could be
Yeah.
sitting in my car in the worst traffic of the world and feel this sense of euphoria that comes from my belly all the way up. And
Mm,
I'm, this is a beautiful day. Look at that sky. Look at the birds. You know,
yeah.
I
Right.
hated nature. Do you know why I hated nature? Because I associated with living in central Pennsylvania and racism.
Ah, interesting.
I
Yeah.
hated trees. I'm like, no, I like my concrete gardens. And a bird can make me feel
Yeah.
whole, peaceful, euphoric. A bird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The
No, I
sky.
hear you. It's a mindset too. Knowing that, hey, today I wake up and I'm breathing, I'm thankful for that. I'm walking, I'm thankful for that. I'm heading out to work or I'm going to drink a cup of coffee, I'm thankful for that. You know, uh, and so I love waking up early. I love waking up early because for me it's like I'm waking up with the rest of the world as the rest of the world is waking up. So I love that. You've heard me say that before. So I totally get it. You've mentioned several books. I'm gonna make sure that I definitely, put the information on because the listeners, the readers, so that they're able to also, look into these books if it's something that they want to pursue. But healing, I feel like healing is it's a continuous thing, I think. And just like you, I'm also a work in progress because all these things, every day is not the same day. So, we have to come in with our eyes open to say, okay,
Mhm.
it's not the same, but you know what? I'm still gonna welcome the day.
That's right. And can I go back to the books? Like, I am not a book snob, even though I'm an English teacher.
Yeah.
But I believe that reading comes in all forms. I don't think that you have to literally read the pages on the book. You can listen to them. I think
Hmm.
art is literature. There's literature in everything. It's a communication.
Right.
So I highly encourage those of you who are auditory, listen to books.
Yeah.
Listen to them over again.
Yes.
Oh, till you really embody what it is you want to embody.
Yes.
And I listen, like I have, the power of now is on my Audible, and whenever I feel myself slipping, let's listen
There
to
you
some
go.
power now. Let's get back to it here.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to be our own cheerleaders. We have to have a set of tools that we can go to. Because if we don't, then we're just gonna fall apart and regress.
Absolutely.
And there's no regressing. There's moving forward.
Yeah. Because the past doesn't exist. All that stuff does not exist anymore.
And today will not repeat itself.
It will not repeat itself. And tomorrow's not guaranteed.
That's true too.
So stay in the
Yeah.
moment.
And we
Give
have
it
to be
as
realistic about
gold.
that.
Absolutely.
Because you
Absolutely.
did say, and you say you live your day every day like if it's going to be your last. We don't know. So we got to be thankful and we got to do what makes us happy.
Yep. No regrets.
Amen, sis. I love this. Yeah, I know. So guys, listeners, just, viewers, go check her out. Miss Persist TikTok.
Yes, Miss Persist. And on YouTube, I've started.
Yeah.
I need to build more following to be able to stream on YouTube. It's Miss Persist 4922.
4922. So check it out. I hope that you're also able to, once I create like content and whatnot, I'm gonna, you know, try to collab with you on the platform. But if not, I'll probably be calling you. I'm not. You're probably more of an expert on TikTok than I am. So
It's definitely a lot of learning and it's constantly changing.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I wish everybody, just good wishes overall. Take care of yourselves. Do what makes you smile. I always keep saying this at every episode. We need to have something every week that regenerates our soul to be able to tackle the next week coming, and vice versa. And we all deserve that. We all deserve that. So until next time, stay tuned and don't shut off because I'm gonna chat with you a little bit offline.
Mhm, mhm.